Welcome to this episode of Wanderlust Solo Women Travel Unscripted. Real women, real stories, real journeys, and no filter. Join Gina, your host, to share the experiences and stories of solo female travelers and advocates from all over the world, with a mission to empower women of all ages, backgrounds, and life stages to embrace solo female travel with confidence and enthusiasm, while being authentic and real, unscripted. Confronting the challenges and apprehensions many women face when considering solo adventures, providing inspiration to break through those barriers, sharing how life transitions, loss, and trauma can lead to amazing experiences, rediscovery, and life journeys. The good, the bad, and the ugly of authentic and honest travel. So let's throw out the script, get comfy, and jump right into this episode.
Hi, and welcome back to Wanderlust Solo Women Travel Unscripted. So you want to travel, and you want to travel solo because you're tired of waiting for someone to go with you, your partner's not interested, and you just can't wrangle your friends to find a date or a time to make it happen. But finances are tight, you've got responsibilities, and reality is it's not that easy. So what do you do? In this episode, I'm just going to touch on some of the things that are the real logistics around not just going on a holiday, but having a transformational travel experience. I'm sure if we all had disposable income, we'd be off on that holiday in a flash. But a lot of considerations need to be taken into thought. A lot of us, especially in midlife, have a lot of responsibilities still. Our lives are changing. It's a very transformative time. Many of us probably thought our travel life is over. This is something you do in your 20s, where actually midlife is where you actually get to rediscover yourself. It's a time when not only our bodies are changing as women, but our lives are changing. Different career paths, children leaving home, already left, grandchildren, aging parents, there's so much going on. But this is also a wonderful time to rediscover and get back in touch with who you really are. And I can't tell you enough how travel is an amazing way to do this. But okay, how do you make it happen? That's a totally different story. And this is where I think my journey around solo travel started, where I didn't have a lot of money, but I had a plan. And it didn't happen overnight. It took a few months, if not a couple of years, to come together. And I think with that in mind, if you can just set a actionable, doable task list to be able to facilitate your travels, that will make it so much more achievable. For example, when choosing your destination that you want to go, a lot of things come into play. If you haven't got a lot of finances, you're not going to pick the dearest country in Europe to travel to because your finances just aren't going to go that far. Accommodation sucks up such a huge amount of your travel budget. So unless you have a specific place you really, really, really need to, but if you're just open to different destinations, pick a country that's a little bit more affordable, that's solo female travel friendly. Southeast Asia, for example, is a really good starting point for solo travel adventures. It's affordable and you can structure your travels around this. So daily budgets are really, really important. I'm sorry to say. But even if you set yourself a daily budget, it gives you something to save to. For example, if you know your average daily budget, I'm going to talk in New Zealand dollars here. It's obviously if you're from the US or the UK or Europe, you're going to do way better than us here in New Zealand or Australia. But if you set your daily budget to say $100, this is to cover your accommodation, your food, and maybe one or two activities. Some days you're going to do less and you won't spend as much. Other days you will spend more, but it gives you something to work on. So if you're going for 10 days, $100 a day, that's $1,000. This is just a rule of thumb. And then you have your other areas of logistics. So you've got your air flights, obviously, are another thing. Any visa or entry requirements. You need a backup fund. It's always good to have something there just in case, that something goes wrong. Then it gives you a figure that you need to work to. Time is also another really important thing. It's like, how much time do you have for this exploration? Are you able to get a week off work, or are you able to go for 5 weeks? Because ironically, the cheaper trips I've had have been the longer ones because I've been able to experience different ways to travel. For example, woofing, work away, volunteering. These are ways where I've been able to travel on a budget and stretch my travel dollar, but have amazing experiences, way off the beaten tourist path. But you need more time to be able to do that. So if you've got like 5-6 weeks up your sleeve, I highly recommend to looking into those sorts of options. These are ways you work for a few hours in exchange of accommodation. You do have to be very careful these days, though, because laws have changed a lot regarding visas and entry requirements. And if you put anything to do with volunteering or anything of that nature, they do class it as work. So please do your research around that. But it is a wonderful way to experience a country on a budget if you have more time. If you don't have more time, pick out 2 or 3 places you really want to go to. Don't try and cram so much in your one night here and one night there, because you're going to spend all your time traveling and not a lot of time actually doing. So once you have those things in play, it gives you a goal. Okay, so it might take you a year, maybe even 2 years to get that goal, but it doesn't mean it's not going to happen. So I don't want these things to be unachievable or unattainable. And that's the thing, you hear these people go, go on a solo travel adventure, go on a transformational experience, which is all very well, but how are you actually going to do it if you haven't got a lot of money, you haven't got a lot of free time? And the other thing too, especially for us in our 50s and on, we actually still have a lot of responsibilities. We have aging parents. We have, pets or grandchildren. So there's responsibilities at home, and there are other things. Okay, how are you going to work around that? So a lot of things come into play, but don't let that deter you from actually going out there and doing it, because I can honestly say that travel changed me in so many ways. And I think at our age, it is the best time to actually start doing it, because a lot of women lose their confidence. They haven't got clarity of where they belong anymore. And they want a community. I think that's the other really important part, is the community that comes with travel. It gives you an opportunity to delve back into those things that you loved and enjoyed. Maybe you liked art. Maybe you liked cycling or ice skating. It gives you an opportunity to touch on those childhood things that you really enjoyed and get out there and doing them again, because no one is judging you when you're traveling. I think that's the most freeing part of it. I know it's called solo traveling, and I want to just also expand on that. I quite often, when I solo travel myself, I quite often join a group tour. Now, to some, that might not seem like solo travel, but I see a big difference between solo travel and independent travel, which I have done both. To me, solo travel, if you step on that plane, that train, that car by yourself, you are stepping out on a solo adventure. Yes, you might go and join a group tour, but you don't know anybody. So it's still your own personal adventure. Independent travel, where you organize everything and you're doing it mostly all by yourself, that's definitely independent travel. And that's a great way as well, once you overcome those fears and apprehensions. But I think solo travel doesn't matter if you're in a group once you get there. I've had my best experiences, and one of them was my very, very first big solo adventure, and that was to Egypt. I needed a break, And I went into the travel agent just to book a small trip to, I don't know, Australia or somewhere. There was a brochure sitting on the shelf. And it was a G Adventures one, and it was to Egypt. And Egypt had been a childhood fantasy of mine. I was absolutely amazed by the pyramids and everything about Egypt. So looking into the tour, and the agent said there was one spot left. So yeah, I booked it there and then. Then I had to go home and tell my partner, by the way, I'm heading to Egypt in a few months. Crazy thing, I know. I come from a small town of like 7,000 people, and this was my first, I had traveled, but this was my first solo adventure where I was heading off, even though I was joining a group by myself. I was coming from small town New Zealand to Cairo, Egypt. You know, I had a few transits on the way, and arriving into Cairo where there's 20 odd million people, and hopping in that little black and white box of a taxi for the first time that was so dinged up, navigating the road to the hotel where there was donkeys and camels and people and cars, and when I get nervous I get the giggles. So I had the nervous giggles all the way there. And then once I arrived, I met this group of people. A lot of them were younger than me. We had never met before, totally different backgrounds, and I have to say it was the best experience ever. And I'm still friends with them nearly 18, 19 years later. And that opened my eyes to the transformational power of travel. These people accepted me with open arms, and I them too. We were all there for the same experience. It was all new. It had its ups and its downs, but it was amazing. And that's all I want to encourage you to do, to take that leap of faith. There are going to be barriers. Like I said, there's the logistics of all your finances and responsibilities. But set a plan, and I think that is your very first step. Once you set a plan, you can do actionable things to make stuff happen. But if you have no plan, then it's really hard to get any direction. So I really encourage you out there. Firstly, when you're wanting to do this, we quite often look at also where we want to go. We want to tick things off. But what about how you want to feel on that trip? What is it you truly want out of it? Is it a way to gain clarity, perspective, recharge, rediscovery? So have a think about how you want to feel, how you want to make you feel on that trip, and incorporate that into what you're going to plan. You know, do you want it to be, do you want to discover arts and creativity, or do you want to delve into history and culture, or do you really just want to rest, recharge, and relax? Put them into categories and then work through. This is where your journey starts. It's not just when you get on that plane, train, or car. Your journey actually starts from the moment you start planning, and that can be a really exciting time. And I really encourage people to get excited about that stage of the journey. And saying that, I've got some really, really cool trips also planned for me and my community in 2027. I'm off to Bali actually in October to host the last international retreat there for 2026. And then next year, I finally put together an awesome trip to Thailand, which I've been trying to get together since 2020 when everything went crazy and I had to postpone Thailand then. And I've finally just relaunched that this week. So I'm super, super excited about that. And also hopefully bringing back Cambodia and some meetups internationally as well, because community is really important to me. And I think that has come about from my travel adventures is the amazing community I've made. So on reflection of this episode, I just want you to touch on, do you want to travel? Do you want to travel solo? Do you want to experience a different way, a different perspective? an opportunity to start anew, a transformation. And if you do, set a plan in action. And to follow up, I've got someone coming on the podcast that's actually going to give you some tools financially to help you achieve your goals. Because that's the frustrating thing. Everyone says this, but no one tells you how. So I hope you've enjoyed this little snippet of me coming in here without a guest this time. And I look forward to bringing an exciting person who has been on the show before and sharing her expertise on money matters around travel. In the meantime, don't forget, please like, comment, and subscribe. If you want to be on the show, reach out and get in touch also. And stay tuned to the next episode. And remember, it is never too late to unleash your own wanderlust. Till next time.
Thanks for listening. Please share the love by liking, commenting, or subscribing, or join us in our Facebook community.